Hello, good morning, everybody. Family Show Season 2, Episode 9, the very awesome family show. And with me today, I have my guest, Cory M. Coons. I have a few people in here this morning meant to be RVing and Troubadour and nursing our travel bug, already waiting in the house. I wanted to say to you, I was listening to some of your music and it was really interesting. But then I got, and I'm going to talk to you about that as well. But I got into your story too, and the main takeaway I got from it is, I want to know how it feels looking back when you were starting out, being in cover bands, touring around with cover bands, and then you went and you won an LA Music Award, and now you're still playing music all these years later. Is it kind of surreal to you to because you have dreams of doing that kind of stuff, start out playing in bands, but is it kind of surreal to actually be living the life of being able to play music and make a living at it?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you very much for having me, Bob. It's great to be here. And I guess, yeah, it's been a long journey. Let's start with that for sure for me. But the differences, I think, between, starting in cover bands and stuff and playing that sort of thing is you kind of have to adapt to the identity of everybody else, right? And cover songs and kind of become that sort of person who's doing the song or that artist sort of thing. And then when you go into your own stuff, it's your own identity. You're portraying yourself, and obviously you're bringing forth all those influences. And I have many influences over the years, right, that I brought into the original stuff. And so, going from playing in cover bands and to doing your own thing, it's different on a few different levels. You're out playing cover songs in bars and stuff, and you're entertaining sort of thing, and you're having a lot of fun with your audience and all that sort of thing. And oftentimes you're not necessarily the focal point of their night. You may be in a sports bar or something, and there's a baseball game or a hockey game on in the corner, and there's people playing pool and all that sort of thing. And sometimes you tend to be the background a little bit, whereas when you're doing your own music, you want to really get people interested and pay attention to what you're doing. So, and that takes, it's a bit intimidating when you first start doing it, because it's sort of your personal baby, right? You're putting that out to people, and you're open to criticisms, and you just hope for the best, and you hope you resonate with people on as many levels as you can. So
Right. Yeah, I can understand that. I sung karaoke a lot and was a karaoke host, so I understand about trying to get the attention of the people that are in the bar, just to be like, "Hey, we're trying to entertain you over here," and it's quite interesting sometimes, depending on the bar that you're in, on the crowd that's there and how receptive they are to it. Was there one crowd that you remember that was like really into you? You guys playing that you were surprised at?
Well, there's been a lot of good shows over the years. We've done a lot of fairs and festival type shows with like my full live band over the years, or opening slots for sort of major Canadian artists where I'm from here in Eastern Ontario. We did some opening slots for bands like April Wine, who's been like a veteran rock band in Canada for so many years, and Kim Mitchell and Glass Tiger, and different bands that came from sort of that late 80s sort of, or mid to late 80s scene, or even 70s going back with April Wine. But those shows are great because you're getting in front of a crowd who's there to actually hear live music, right? They're there for the show. And so, those things are great. So
yeah, I just went, and there's there's a thing that can't be replaced with live music, because I just went to the Metallica drive-in concert that they had.
Nice.
And it was cool and it was an experience, but it wasn't the same. It wasn't the same as there people actually playing there. Was there somebody that you watched, got to go see in concert, that you thought put on a really really great show, that you kind of want to hope to put on as good a show as them, or that you just really enjoyed?
Yeah, there's been many over the years. I'm in my late 40s, 48, turning 49 next year. So I've been to a lot of shows starting in high school, but over the last few years, I'd have to say, seeing Styx a number of times. Tommy Shaw has been a big influence on me, musically and stuff, and those guys, and there's been so many. I mean, there's been so many good bands. Tesla is a big rock band.
Oh, I've seen them in concert before, Tesla. Yeah.
Yeah,
The song, a love song that they did. I always enjoy the little acoustic guitar, little intro piece that they did.
exactly. Yeah, that was a big
Yeah.
high school song for me. Late high school sort of thing. When I came out of high school, that was huge. So I mean, got to see those guys last year opening for Def Leppard on the tour they were doing together and stuff. But I'm influenced, there's all kinds of bands. Like there's country rock, there's stuff like Tom Petty, which is more like rootsy rock sort of stuff.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I am as far as the influence and where my music has kind of been sitting and going. Is there's a very melodic rock edge and element there, but there's also a real rootsy element of like country rock sometimes, and what I call like roots rock, I guess. So.
Right. And Thomas Jordan, hello. How are you?
Hello.
I kind of wanted to ask you about. I believe it was. And correct me if I got the name wrong, but producer you worked with, Ron Nemison.
Ron Nemison, yeah.
Yeah, and he worked with a bunch of artists, and he did. I guess he produced "Runaway" by Bon Jovi. I want to know, working with him, when you did, were you able to go back and listen to some of the people that he worked with and recognize his influence more than you had previously?
Well, yeah, working with Ron Nevison, I mean, he was like sort of the producer that I envisioned working with for a lot of years because of the influences and the people he's worked with, right? I mean, going back to like you mentioned Runaway, he didn't actually produce Bon Jovi's Runaway, but the guitar player who played the solo on that track actually worked with Ron and I on my EP, which was Tim Pierce. So that was a sort of a thrill to work with, that quality of people in the studio that Ron brought to the project. And right. Tim Pierce and Jeff Bova, who were session guys from Los Angeles. I think you might see my daughter slipping in behind me here.
Yeah, it's all right. It happens all the time on my show, so don't worry about it.
See a little flash of purple going there. Yeah. So he's been an amazing guy to work with. I worked with him on 2 of my albums. Well, the first EP in 2014, and then my Long Road Home album in 2018. And he also mixed the song "Leavin'," which is on my latest EP. So, but yeah, working with Ron is great, and just the level of professionalism and the stories of the people, like you said, that he's worked with, and you get all that insight, and you hear what people went through and stuff, and it was just amazing.
Yeah, and that new EP, the latest one is 33.3, right?
That's it. 33.3. There it is, right there.
Yeah. Is there and I have your YouTube channel in the chat, and got your other links in the description down here. But I saw you were getting really close to 100, so hopefully we can get you up over 100 on that today.
Yeah, it's a funny thing, YouTube. You can try and promote the crap out of it on Facebook and get people to sign up, and it's how Facebook is. If you don't hit them at the right time of day, you're not getting the reach, and it's. But I mean, I'm doing well with the views. I think pretty decent on YouTube, and then the streams right now on Spotify for the new single "Good Times Gone." I'm really excited and happy because we've gotten over 50,000, which is really good for me as an independent artist. And
it's interesting how it shifted, and back when it was because Metallica actually back again to that, but back to Napster and all that stuff when it was free and all that kind of stuff, and everybody thought it was bad. It ended up helping the independent artists more in the end because they found a way to hey, people put up with ads if you just let them listen to the music for free. So you just set up a system to do that, and now the artists get a chance to be exposed to it to more people.
And now, oddly enough, Napster is the highest paying streaming platform. It's more than Spotify.
Wow.
So
that's kind of crazy.
It's wild. I mean, Spotify doesn't pay much of anything. It's a shame. It's a real shame. I mean, it's great for the exposure part of it, but like you look some of the guys I see that I've met in the industry that I've met and had the chance to talk to, like guys like the drummer from Styx now, like Todd Zuckerman, like he'll see posts and he'll say, because he just released a solo album on his own. He's like, he says, they can't believe what I'm getting paid on Spotify. Like, these guys just have no idea, because like they've been out touring for years with bands like
Right.
Styx, and then all of a sudden they're like getting paid like, 0.003 cents for a stream. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, it's kind of crazy to see the difference. Hello, Trips. How are you? And Ardez is in here as well, and Thomas Jordan. Nice to see all you guys this morning. Um, it's kind of because I mean there were artists that made a bunch of money, like you're talking about the ones toured with Styx, but there were a lot of more artists that never got to make it back then because it was so gated off too. So
That's
that
right.
was part of the bad side of it. What was one of your favorite memories of those early days when you were touring around, in the late '90s with the guys in the cover band? What were some of the memories that stick with you?
Well, the ones that we can talk about here, there was lots of great memories. I mean, I spent the majority of 1998 traveling in the Southeast in the States, like Georgia, Mississippi, Florida, Alabama, all those southern states, and the hospitality was amazing. And getting to play like on July 4th weekend on like Panama City Beach, I mean, for a week, it's like, you can just imagine the stories and what's going to happen there, and like people on the stage, and just, those guys were a very popular band that I played with. The band Us, they were called, or US as they eventually became.
Right.
But just great stories. I mean, from traveling on a big old school bus type of touring bus, and getting to travel all around and play frat houses and universities, and some really cool clubs, Birmingham, Alabama. I think it was 5 Points Music Hall, I think, or something it was called. And just, all kinds of things. Actually getting to play at Panama City Beach twice that same year, I think it was, which was really cool. They had sort of rivalry of like clubs. One was Spinnaker and one was La Vila, Club La Vila or whatever. And if you played the one, you couldn't play the other, sort of thing. So I got to do La Vila twice. And just some crazy fun times.
Yeah. And we have Van Vita Travels in here, and her and the Trips are both fellow Canadians.
Nice.
They're with you, so they're in here supporting it.
Thanks, guys.
I wanted to kind of know how did it feel when because you can kind of get a crowd when you do the cover band stuff and play certain songs or whatever. But how did it feel when you started playing your own songs and having people enjoying those just as much as the cover songs you used to play?
Yeah, that feeling of playing something that you created and brought to life for people, when you get the vibe of the people back and forth, it's to me, it's better than I've never been into drugs like majorly in my life or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Or I've been a social drinker and stuff, and partied when I was younger, but I mean, never anything crazy. But I mean, if you're going to compare it to any sort of drug or anything like that, it doesn't even come close to me, because playing your music and getting that is such an instant high of delivering that message that you came up with to people and having it resonate back. And if they like it, it takes, like I said, it takes a lot of opening up your soul to people when you do it, but in the end, you get that payback. And even just seeing and hearing the responses just nowadays, like digitally, when you release the songs and feedback on like social media or whatever, and certain personal songs that I've written over the years, like one for my parents called Remember Me, who both passed on now, and that was on my 2014 EP as well. And songs like that are very, very personal, and they hit home to so many people who go through the loss of anybody in their family or friends or whoever, It's sort of a community thing, so.
Yeah, I was going to say on the Remember Me, I watched the music video for that, and it reminded me of my parents, because my older brother is the same age as you, so I know like all that music. So all I heard in the next room next door when we go somewhere. So I know that's why I know a bunch of those bands, even though
awesome.
I'm younger, so I know all those. But the pictures are there. It reminded me of my own photo album of my parents parents
Yeah.
and when they were around, because the fashion was the same and everything. Is there a story that you remember as a kid, like maybe a family trip or something that you guys took that always left an impression on you?
Yeah, we took a few trips as a family when I was younger. We did stuff like Canada's Wonderland near Toronto and stuff. We did that, and we used to go to Niagara Falls, Fort Erie, that
Hmm.
whole area there. Like my dad actually lived in Fort Erie, sorry, for a period of time when he was kind of growing up. He was born in my area here in Eastern Ontario, but then he moved away with his family for a while, and they came back. So he got to sort of grow up and play hockey with like like a son of like an NHLer at one time, you know, sort of from like New York Rangers and stuff like that. But
Hmm.
for family trips, I mean, just those were great because you get to spend time with your family growing up, and experiencing things. We didn't have a lot of money, obviously, so when you get to do it, you really have to like take it all in. And so, I
Right.
mean, family trip like that. I'm trying to think. I think Niagara Falls and Fort Erie sticks out a lot though for me because we even going back now, my wife and I got married and went there for our honeymoon and stuff. So going back now after all these years still is a sort of a high for me to remember those young days. So
Yeah, yeah, and the song you were mentioning earlier, "Good Times Gone," that whole song reminds me of when you were writing it. That was just you were able to reminisce when you were writing the lyrics down and just relive all the memories that you went through.
yeah, you kind of hit it on the head there. Thank you for that. It just basically, I think it's touching on the current times in the state of being sometimes too. And but it's like you look at life as quality rather than quantity, right? So you kind of
Hmm.
enjoy every minute, and you're sort of reflecting back and being honest and staying grounded. All those things that I like to encompass in me as an artist and me as a person, and family and stuff too. So
Right, right,
yeah,
and um, one of your I'm looking over at my notes, by the way.
that's okay.
So, um, uh, long long road. The music, however, just reminds me of a classic rock song, and I kind of want to know is the in there. I think it's in that song when you're talking about "Dead Man's Dream." The lyrics in there, is it kind of about self reflection, about chasing dreams about your younger self, and kind of having to readjust those dreams to a different uh, perspective of where you're at now?
Yeah, I mean that's a pretty cool interpretation. I mean, I like to leave that to people like yourself who listen to it, and you kind of come up with your own sort of visualization of what the meanings of songs are. I really like to do that with people. I mean, there's
Mm.
certain things in my mind that I'm thinking about when I'm creating it, but that's pretty cool. I hadn't heard that one to that degree, sort of. But I think yeah, it's about traveling sort of that whole highway of life and that journey, and you're kind of coming full circle, which that whole album, The Long Road Home, was really coming full circle for me, with my writing and coming back home and the journey that took me everywhere over the years, and getting that all together with, working with Ron Nevison and putting that album together in sort of that classic rock, like you said, feel and format
Right,
was, I mean, I don't think there's any better producer to pick to work with for that sort of thing, which
right,
that style
right,
and yeah.
right. And that hello, Tom and Rhonda and Uncle Lisa Productions for coming in. Uncle Lisa Productions over in Finland, so you
Ah,
got
cool.
multinational now, not just two nations. That's pretty awesome. Um, the song, let's see here we go. Break the Fall it seemed to me like a love song, but it gave me that ballady feel, the '80s like song that they put on that album as a ballad, and I always enjoyed those. So I kind of appreciated it a little more.
Yeah, you hit again. You're you're describing the songs very well because I mean I love the ballads of the '80s, and there's definitely influences of that in that song, and it's romantic. I mean you're talking about I guess breaking the fall. You're devastated. Somebody's devastated in a relationship or something, and how do you kind of bounce yourself back and
Hmm.
all those elements that are in there, relationship type songs, and telling a story. Obviously, not necessarily my life per se in the songs, but I mean, they're universal, I like to think, in many ways, where many people can sort of, like I said, feel something, or if you can remember where you were, like yourself, going back to hearing songs, say from the 80s or something, you can kind of take yourself back to where you were and when you first heard a certain song. You know what I mean? So I think if you can create that in something, and then somebody remembers that something that you did, then I think that's a pretty cool thing.
Right. Good morning, Simple Life Reclaimed. And then when you're speaking of that, the songs being able to take you back, how is it to be? Because I was reading in your bio that you got I think one of your songs got selected to be on a soundtrack for a film. How does that feel? Because I know I can listen to some songs if I first heard them in a movie or whatever, and so my mind goes back to the image of those movies, like back in the day, John Hughes films from the 80s. So how is that being selected for a film? Was that kind of a different experience from other stuff that you've experienced so far?
Yeah, it feels really good. And once again, that kind of came through as an introduction from Ron Nevison to the guy who's in charge of putting the movie together there in Los Angeles, and it's Dream Cinema Productions, and it's called Night Mistress, and it's still in post-production since everything's happened over this, the course of the year, obviously, with everything being delayed, and it's still in post-production, but I've got 2 songs that are scheduled to appear in the soundtrack for the movie, and one is Remember Me, actually, which is kind of, it's unique in a way, because like Night Mistress is supposed to be sort of a sci-fi, like horror type flick, and at the end, I guess the credits or near the end of the movie is when they're going to be playing part of that song or whatever. So it's kind of cool, I mean, and then the other one was an older song that I did like 20 years ago. It's called Spend My Days, and they chose that, and it's more of a ballady type song too. So it's probably going to be in somewhere, in the middle of the movie or something. But it'll be interesting. I haven't seen it obviously until they're finished, but when you see it and then your music plays, it'll be kind of a interesting thing to see how I feel, when it happens. So.
Right, and that's kind of it'll kind of be a different way of somebody interpreting your music, like you're saying, kind of how people tell you different things and how they visualize it. That'll be somebody's visualization up there on screen to actually see it. So that'll be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Time will tell.
Yeah, for sure. Share a little time when I was first listening to that, and I heard you say somewhere else that you might hear stuff musically in your songs that from other places. Mm-hmm. And musically, when that first started, I immediately heard Triumph, Magic Power.
Yeah,
I immediately heard that song when I first heard that. So I'm kind of wondering if that was kind of a little influence on that one.
Well, subliminally, it probably was. I mean, that whole intro part on the 12-string, you get that old Triumph sort of vibe happening, And oftentimes there'll be stuff that'll just come through me in my head, and I've probably heard it over the years, and it comes out in something or other, and I may not notice it right off the bat. So, I always take it as a compliment when people say that it sounds like something else or they hear something, because everybody's influenced by something, right? So It doesn't matter. You're going back to the artists from the 50s, like they're influenced by something, and they're going to bring that forward. So I like it. I mean, it's, I think like that sort of very melodic singing is a big influence on me too, like the Rick Emmett and the Tommy Shaw and stuff over the years, So that stuff's going to come through,
Yeah. And your daughter keeps popping in the screen, and so I want to kind of know, has that kind of changed the music you write to have a little more forward feeling to it, so that as she grows up, she has maybe a different kind of style of music to listen to you from now than when you were younger?
Yeah, I think so. Well, I mean, I'm not sure if you have children yourself, but when they come into your life, I mean, they change your life, and they change it for the better in so many ways. So those little nuances and influences of your kids around are going to change things too. And she's very entertaining herself. She sings, she plays drums, and So she gets her little touch in there. She's even got a little cameo at the end of the Good Times Gone video that I put together, the extended version of just me and her kind of playing 30 more seconds of it. So she's definitely, she influences things, and family influences things. It keeps you grounded, and music has been my passion my whole life. But you could just have music, and you may be missing so much, other stuff in your life. So trying to find that balance is key. So balance and songwriting comes into play too.
Right. That's kind of about it. Be cool. Kind of got to be cool as a father, though, to have her have a musicianship. Inside. It's kind of cool because you guys can share that her whole life. That's something that I don't think she'd ever outgrow of hanging out and jamming with Dad for sure. So.
We hope so.
Right. And I kind of want to know, because I tried to be in some different bands back in high school, and I kind of want to know what the strangest band name, like anybody ever suggested that you remember, like some of the strangest ones.
Some of the strangest band names. I'm trying to think back to when I first started in high school. I mean, we had some bands. One was called Chaser, I believe. And then somebody suggested Wicked Morning, which was like morning as in MOURNING.
Right, because it's got to be a different spelling.
That's kind of different.
I'm
trying to think. I played in a band called Shake the Tree, which was a cover band from Cornwall, Ontario, for a few years. And Heads or Tails was one of the touring bands in the early 90s that I played with all over Ontario. So unique names they're pretty cool. I've often go through and think of, like, if I'm going to do something different than just my own thing, I'll have these names pop into my head. Oh, that would be kind of cool, like there's so many different things out there.
Right. It was always an interesting process to try to come up with a name too, because one thing, my older brother, he was in a few different bands, and he's like, you got to try to find something that fits what the music is. I was like, well, now I got more parameters. Now it's that be hard to come up with a name. So
yeah.
And Tom and Rhonda, they really like "Break the Fall" song. Break the
Fall.
Fall.
Thank you. Thanks, Tom and Rhonda.
And let's see. There was one I was going to ask you about. I want to kind of know the story behind "Once Too Many, Twice Not Enough," because that one seemed like a really interesting lyrically. Like, what kind of set off the idea for that one?
Well, that's a song. The title itself and the chorus part of the song is actually a very, very older idea that I had for so many years that was never sort of finished and put into a song. So oftentimes when I write songs, there's no real formula, where I might have an idea and then it kind of, okay, that's a cool idea, but then I don't take it any further, and it just kind of sits there and sort of, what do you call it? Marinates, I like to call it.
Right.
Marinate song ideas. So then I put that together and I'll rewrite parts and kind of blend things in. Sometimes songs come out that way. Other times they come quick. But for that particular one, I think you have to think about the obstacles and challenges in life in that chorus, and also a bit of the gambling element and the risk in life. Once too many is twice not enough. You're always taking that risk, and you're sort of gambling in a way with taking the chances and looking for the right outcome. I think that's kind of what the whole vibe of at least the chorus, sort of rising up over challenges and stuff too.
Right. And the way that was laid out, because that 80s vibe almost again, that reminded me of Once Bitten, Twice Shy.
Yeah.
Why? Because of how that title was laid out. Just reminded me of that one.
Cool.
I kind of want to know how it is, because you were fan of Styx, and now talking to the drummer Styx. So how does it feel to go from somebody that's kind of a fan of somebody's stuff to then kind of being a peer to him and talking to him? How does that feel, looking at that situation from when you were younger? You probably if you went back and told your younger self, you'd be like, no, that's not going to happen. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Well, it's always been. I got to meet Tommy Shaw twice. The first time I met Tommy was in Niagara Falls when we went to see the band play, and he just happened to be in the restaurant when we were kind of coming in that day to go to our hotel and stuff. And he was in the restaurant inside the casino,
Right.
and we got to meet him and stuff. And we took a couple pictures with him. And then it had been a few years, and then I started working with Ron Nevison, and Ron produced Damn Yankees with Tommy Shaw, Ted Nugent, Jack Blaze, and those guys. So that was a big influence once again. And so then. Went to see a few more concerts of them over the years, and then last year we went to Florida, my family and I, to do the Disney World experience again for my daughter and stuff. And so we also knew that Styx was going to be playing in Plant City, Florida. So when we got to Florida, I had contacted Ron. I said, we're going to go check out Styx tonight, and he said, well, he got back to me later that day, and he said, well, I talked to Tommy, and he says, you just come here and you know. We'll get you some passes and you can come back and meet the guy. So that was awesome of Ron to do that for me. And
Right.
It's like that childhood, like sort of thing kind of starts, coming through in yourself. And so getting to talk to Tommy backstage, and I met most of the guys from the band, including Todd, the drummer and stuff. And Larry Gowan, who's a Canadian, he's obviously taken the place of Dennis DeYoung over the years. But meeting those guys it was great. I mean, big influence on the writing, and getting to talk to Tommy, different things like his guitars and just, life in general. And very down to earth, very, very cool guys. And very, they love talking to their fans. So that's what it's all about. So.
Right. And the song Crumbs, that one kind of gave me a country rock feel to it.
Yeah. That's an older song as well. It originally came out in 2004 on my first independent album. And then we re-released it on the digital platform just this past year, I guess it was, on MTS Records. And so I was happy to get that back out there and get sort of the streaming thing happening for that too, because it was only available on CD for so long. But that song is a real sort of southern rock, kind of country rock story song, like a sort of the man and his family from the South sort of thing, and the working man thing. And there's a bit of an element maybe of my dad in parts of that song coming through in the middle section of it, like sort of I envision myself sort of, and then life with my dad at some points maybe too.
Yeah. It is, and Miss Southern Belle popped in, so she appreciates that kind of thing. So
Nice.
you gotta check out his song Crumbs on there. Is there anything musically that you'd like to still do that you haven't done yet?
Well, there's always songs. The songs are always sort of presenting themselves. The ideas come, and I've got a bunch of stuff still sitting like on, sort of on paper. And then I pick up my guitar and I start writing. The ideas start to flow. And there's tons of like guitar licks and guitar chord changes and strumming patterns that I have. And then if I hear a melody, then I put that melody to something. I may not even have words that form right away, but I'll hear the melody of what I'm hearing to sing, and then sort of start forming the words around it. But there's more songs. There's always stuff, and the videos are the thing that sometimes I want to do more of, but the budgets are tough to get the videos. I mean, I do a lot of my own videos and try to incorporate that into it as much as I can. But the big budget videos that you used to see in the 80s, that would be pretty cool to do something big and bombastic like that for fun once in a while too.
Right. And since you do your own music videos, I kind of want to know the song "Would You Stay." That was a really interesting music video. How that one was done.
Yeah, well, that one I didn't actually do myself. I had a friend of mine put together the live footage and then blending in sort of the pictures coming in and out, and that light bulb sort of effect that he had us all in. I thought that was really cool. So that was actually, I can't take credit for putting the video together. I had a couple friends. Well, one friend took the video of the live portion of stuff, and then my friend Nori, who put the video together, put all the other stuff together with it. And so I like the way that one turned out too. I was pretty happy with that one.
Yeah, I thought it was a little different way. And at home with Tom and Rhonda, they said, I think music and movies seem to go hand in hand. I interviewed T.G. Shepard, and he said he didn't want to be an actor. how do you feel about playing a role or being in a movie?
Oh my goodness. I don't know if I could be an actor or not. I don't know. Maybe like a, what do you call it? Like what? Not a stand-in, but someone who comes in very briefly.
Right,
Maybe I could do something like that. I don't know. I did
right.
drama in high school. I did a little bit of acting, but I don't know if I'd ever consider myself an actor. I don't know if I'd go
Right,
the John Bon Jovi route or not, and then go into doing like I
right.
don't know.
So who
That's a
gave
good
you?
question though. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Who gave you the encouragement um, when you were younger to to have confidence that you were actually pretty good at doing music? Like, was it your parents, or was it somebody that heard you play and you were like, they said, "Oh, you're actually pretty good at that," and that inspired you to put more effort into it and keep going farther?
Yeah, like my parents were always very, very supportive. They were amazing people, and I think musically, my mom used to have like a, what do you call it, a Magnus organ, the old type of organs there, and I used to play that as a kid. My dad he used to sing a little bit. He used to just for himself and sort of for fun. He loved the old the crooners, like the Dean Martins and the Frank Sinatras, and he loved all
Right.
that. I'd often hear him singing and stuff, but he didn't do it professionally or get out or anything like that. But I think there was a little bit of both of them as far as the work ethic and the tenacity that I think I've had over the years. That sort of came through, and like I said, they were always supportive of everything I did. And then I guess in just before late public school and then going into high school here, I had a couple friends who just lived up the road. I live out in the country, so just up the road from me. And they were two brothers, and they had one was a drummer and one was a guitar player. So I had known them since we were kids. And then when they
Yeah.
started playing music, I jumped in on the bass. I said, well, nobody's playing bass, so I started as a bass player.
Yeah.
So they kind of started getting together and sort of playing music with those two brothers first, and then sort of the one brother kind of went on did his thing, and then my friend Derek stayed on drums for a while, and we would in high school had a couple different bands and stuff together. But yeah, so that sort of got
Do
me to
you
where
do you ever still talk to them and say, "Hey, we should do a reunion show. I can jump in on bass."
Well, a couple of my friends that came later in high school, actually, we still keep all in real close touch that we had a band with too. And yeah, it's always fun to talk about getting together. And everybody's got kids now too, and everybody's, it's to find the time. And of course, with everything else that's been going on, it's getting together is so tough right now. So
Yeah, yeah. And at home with Tom and Rhonda, they said they need intro music for their channel at home with Tom and Rhonda. Do you ever get permission to use any of your songs, or do you have any ideas?
hey, I'm always up for negotiations and talks on my music in any way. Definitely. I mean, yeah, I would have to see your show to give you some ideas, maybe as far as letting you know how I would approach that. But yeah, let me know. Keep in touch. You can find me like on Facebook, or you can
Yeah,
yeah.
I've been putting your drop links in there, and for those listening here on the podcast later on, yeah, CoryMCoons.com. You can
Yep.
find them, and then Facebook it is cmc.music. On Twitter, he is Cory M. Coons1, and on Instagram, Cory M. Coons Music. And you can find him there, and then you can probably search him whatever music service you use. But we talked about it earlier. You should probably use Napster because they're the best ones for the artists. So if you actually want to help support the artists, ironically, use Napster now. So,
I don't even know. Am I on Napster? I'm not sure if I'm there. Maybe I
I
am.
don't know. Maybe you should get there, I guess. But you are on Spotify, so you
Yeah.
can find it there if you are using that. And
Apple iTunes and Spotify.
hello, Band Life with Gina. She's another musician and played in bands and stuff. So, um, yeah, I find it interesting, different people's paths that they take to get where they're at. Is there times where you've had to try, like maybe playing shows as you went along, or when you're working in the studio, with producers like Ron and stuff like that, you kind of have to slow yourself down and try to be present in that moment so you can have that memory for later instead of just blowing by it like you're eating breakfast at any other time.
Yeah, that's important to be in the zone and be physically and mentally there, you know, and be in that situation, because oftentimes if you I go back to the word balance, because if you sort of overdo yourself in any certain way, I mean, you're going to lose perspective on something you're trying to accomplish, right? And that's one good thing that when you bring that up, when we talk about Ron and the way he approached getting someone's vocals and the way he's done that for like his career as a producer, he's so big and such an amazing producer for vocals and big with drum sounds and stuff like that. But he takes the time when you're going in and you're singing your parts. Like you may run through 3 sections or 3 different times of a take, and then you take a break. Like you really bring yourself down and you save your voice. You don't burn yourself out in the whole time. He really knows how to structure. So I learned a lot and took a lot home from him, from being a vocalist in the studio and learning how to do things and how not to burn yourself out and tire yourself out, you know, your throat and stuff. So
right. I kind of want to know if you had your chance to set up a jam session with and set up a band around you with any musicians from the present or past, like who would you choose at each position? Who would you choose at bass and drums and all that stuff? If you had your chance to do something like that.
Oh my gosh, there's so many of people, like so many great musicians over the years. I'd probably have to have. I mean, I'd love to have someone like Tommy Shaw and Jack Blades in the band as guitar players and bass players and vocalists, all around musicians, you know.
Right.
On the drummer end, there's so many amazing drummers. I mean, you just have to think of there's Todd from Styx, but I mean, he's such an amazing technical drummer. Then you have drummers like I can't think of his name. That's terrible. The guy that played with Tom Petty's band, up until Tom passed away. He's like amazing drummer, field drummer, you know. And
Neil Peart from up there in Canada too.
Neil Peart, technically, he'd be an amazing drummer, you know. I'm not sure for the style of my music so much when I'm getting to the rootsy rock thing, but at least amazing people. I don't know. I'd have to. You got me on the spot here for this one. I'd have to sit and think about who my perfect dream band would be.
Right.
Yeah.
Now keyboards, I wonder that because they're
keyboards. We had Eric Levy from Night Ranger, who's the current keyboard player, what we call fly in the tracks. Like you send him over the internet. He flew in his parts for the song "Leavin'." Eric Levy from Night Ranger. He did an amazing job on the parts for that.
Right. And Papa Drew's in here. He said he loved the War Drums. That was a great Western movie. There's. Oh man. I seen Night Ranger in concert before, and that was interesting. They were on tour with Slaughter, Quiet Riot, and Ted Nugent.
Yeah.
When they were on that tour, so they were interesting to see. And is there any of those songs from back in the day that you kind of taken with you your whole life that like mean a little bit more than others? Mine was always "Home Sweet Home" by Motley Crue. But
that's a great song. That is definitely a point in time, you know, for me too, for that song and that video, and everything was so like the video age was just in its full height, you know. And then a song like "Home Sweet Home" comes out with the video and the tour buses and all that stuff. And I had just seen them that year in Ottawa. They were headlining with Y&T opening up for them.
Right.
That's a song that sticks out. There's also "Love Song," like you mentioned, from Tesla. Like that stuff sticks out.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. There's Bon Jovi songs. Like you think of "Wanted Dead or Alive." Is a big sticks out over the years. There's so many songs. Like wow.
Yeah. And I saw Motley Crue. I think it was 99. It was right after Vince Neil came back. After Karabi was there for that little short stint, and so that was a really good show. And another good show that I saw was Roger Waters. Seeing him play live, that was a really good experience.
There's many Bryan Adams songs for me over the years too, as a Canadian.
Oh yeah.
So many of his songs that resonate with me, and Beach Boys. Beach Boys.
Beach Boys.
Every single song that Brian Wilson ever touched was, I don't think, can you really find a bad one? I don't know.
Yeah, and then even the Beatles said, I think it was Pet Sounds influenced them from the Beach Boys. So, yeah, people. I always kind of thought it was funny that people always dismissed them, and it was like they were actually musically the stuff that they came up with, and like the harmonies and melodies and stuff.
I love it.
They've lasted throughout time. Look how many songs are really released a year now. You know what I mean? They've always released a bunch of songs, but how many really stick around?
I could just put a band together with me and Brian Wilson, because he can play all the other instruments except for drums, and then we'll just hire a drummer.
Yeah. There you go.
Right there.
That'd be quite the band. Well, I wanted to thank you for coming on today and being on with me, because I think that's a good way to end it. Brian Wilson's the ultimate band. So I want to say goodbye to these guys. Stick with me for a second. Till next time, guys. Stop waiting for life to happen and make it happen. Later, guys.